Oh my God. Inspired to get a bigger pan. I love it.
Okay, I can.
Oh, I love how Spirit always flows and everything that we do, everything just ties together. I had no idea what song she's going to be singing today, but it ties in beautifully with what I want to share with you, and it always does. It just simply always does. And I feel like I've been gone forever, because what's going on back there? What's going on? I don't recall that mustache before I left. So, I mean, everything changes, doesn't it? I like it. So you look like a grown-up now. So I'm glad to be back. Thank you all for being here this morning. As Pat said, we are a New Thought community. And so that means that we believe that God is all. God is one. We are one with that. And so as we are one with that one, we are individualized expressions of the divine. And that means we get to co-create our lives. We get to get a bigger pan if we're not getting our big dreams. We need to dream bigger. We need to get a bigger pan. And so what we do here is we just give you tools and information so that you can reach the dreams, your desires, your hopes, whatever it is that you want. We're a teaching center. Our purpose statement, one of our purpose statements is that we transform lives. We don't do it. You do it. But we give you the tools and the information so that you can have the life that you are looking for, the life that you are here to live. And that's what we do here. So thank you so much for coming. I want to ask you at the very beginning to set your intention for what you want to get while you're here today. Setting your intention focuses you and Spirit on getting you exactly what you came here today for. And I don't know what it is, and it doesn't matter. But you set your intention. If you came here to hear a word, it may come from me, it may come from someone else, it may come from the song, but you will hear what you need to hear, you will get what you need to get. So set your intention. And even further, one of the issues that we have in trying to grow, in trying to get the life we're looking for, is an issue of not enough knowledge, but about transferring that knowledge from one situation to the next. And so what I mean by that, when you're thinking about setting an intention, it's not just about this morning. You set your intention for everything you do. My children and I have decided that we're going to have a Sunday lunch, which they canceled on me, but that's another story. But we're going to have lunch every third of the month. Now the lunch, and like I have lunch, we have the lunch bunch, and we have lunch with friends and dinner with friends and all kinds of things. But those are the vehicles. The intention is not to eat. I could eat at home. I could call a restaurant and have them delivered to my house. What is the intention of getting together? To create family and community, to hear from one another, to let people know that we care and that they matter in our lives. And it matters, and we talked about this before, when you show up. And that's what we do when we do those things. So set your intention when you go in the room, whatever you're doing, to do what you actually came to do. Not to care about whether the food is good or the coffee is hot or cold or the wine tastes. It doesn't matter. Those things are important. What matters is why you actually came, to connect with the people you love, to do a service, to whatever it is. So that's what we're here to do. And last week, I talked about what's next. What is next? And the reason why we want to talk about that is because it is so easy to just fall asleep in our lives. And that's not a big problem because we can't be worried about things all the time. At some point, we do want to put some things on autopilot, but not everything. Because if we do, we'll wake up. And Carla was sharing a country western song this morning, and it was about, I will, and I'm not going to paraphrase the words, but the point was, I will love you. I forgot to kiss you today, so I'll do it tomorrow. I forgot to do this, well, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it when I can, until you can't. We keep putting it off until you can't. So we don't put off what we need to do, who we love, tell who we love. We do it today. We don't put those things off. And so asking ourselves, what's next? What's next is a way of staying awake. I believe, and not everybody agrees with me, and let me just say this right quickly too before I go further. Let us just assume, because what happens for adults is that you hear information and you're immediately arguing with it. Because you're trying to fit it in, right? I don't know about that. I don't know if that's particularly the older you get, and you lived a long time and you know a lot of things. And so someone says something, you start arguing in your head, I don't know, that's not been, I don't know. So let me just ask you to assume that what I'm saying is true. Hear the whole thing out and argue with it later. Okay? Argue with it later yourself. I challenge you to experience it. I challenge you to experience it, to take what I'm saying and try it and see if you don't have the same or a similar experience. So I believe that we're either shrinking or we're growing. Okay? We're either living by default and just living the way we've always lived and the way that our parents told us how things are supposed to be and the way society says it is, or we're challenging it and saying, is that right for me? And thinking about it and living on purpose and co-creating our lives on purpose. That's why we ask, what's next? What's next for me? What's next for me to do? And I'm just not asking you, I've just done the same thing. Because I love it here. I love talking, I love learning, I'm taking classes, I'm giving classes here and in the community. There's a lot of things that I love. So it's easy to say that I'm doing all that I need to do. But when I asked what's next, something amazing popped into my head. And I'm moving forward with it. And I think I shared it with you last week. I didn't go back and listen to my talk, but I believe I shared it with you last week about this idea of coaching and consulting with one another. Because when you're thinking about moving from one thing to the next, it's one thing to make a demand on the universe and say, I want this forward. And part of the issue is we don't know how, and that is the universe's job. But the universe works through all of us because we are the divine. And when the universe asks you to do something, it is incumbent upon you to do that because someone else, what you're doing could be the answer to a prayer someone had. And so we go ahead and we move forward. Okay? And so what I want to do is to help. I'm very good with getting people to clarity. We were talking this morning, we didn't come to agreement, and we don't have to. What I'm trying to do is to get you to think about it. We were talking about this morning, what does it mean to be warm-hearted? What does it mean? I had an idea about it. Other people in the room had different ideas. No one's right or wrong. You can look it up and still not agree. That's not fully it. So whatever it is, if we have a question about what does warm-hearted mean, we have questions about a lot of things. And we start talking to someone thinking that I'm saying a word or I'm saying something you understand, maybe if your background and your experience is aligned with how I use the word or how I use the situation. So what I'm wanting to do is, because I'm very good with clarity, very good with asking people questions, is to help people bridge that space between what they want and what they get. And that's what I'm going to be doing. So I will share with you a little bit more about that. So that's what came to me. And as that came to me, I think I shared this with you, that I got a thing in my inbox, in my email, that talked about how to become a personal coach, how to help people transform. I said, well, that's right where I want to go. And so I looked it up, and it was like $179. I said, well, not just yet. Let me just book that. Let me bookmark that. Because I've been traveling, I didn't have the $179. I'm going to bookmark that. And when I get back I'll take a look. And so when I got back, I was bookmarked, and I looked at it, and I said, okay, great. So let me click over and see how much it is. There was a site-wide sale for all of their classes, and the class was, I think it was $25 from one and $19 for another, $24 from $179. So I got both of them that I wanted, helping people transform their lives, for $48. Okay, so that's a prosperity in itself. But beyond that, as I'm in the class, it is speaking to me. I feel like I'm in church. I feel like I'm in church for myself. And it begins with a pre-test, just to see how, what kind of, and it had like 40 questions. I got all 40 questions right. And that just tells you that this is for me. One of the things that Spirit does is resonation. Do you know what resonation, I'm going to repeat some things. Resonation is God promising you before it arrives that this is for you. And that it's there in the realm of possibility for you. That's what resonation means. That's why I'm always asking you, what's resonating for you? So that's what we talked about last week, was what's next. Take a look at that anytime you want, what's next. For this week, I want to talk about, what is I'm saying? Yeah. No love. What did I say I want to talk about? Know, see, and be. Know, see, and be love. Know, see, and be love. And here's why. I'll tell a story, and then I'll come back to why. So as I was raised in as a Baptist in the South, a Southern Baptist, and so I loved going to church. I loved it because my family was there, wonderful music, the social atmosphere. All my friends were there because it was a church that had a lot of young people there as well. So all my friends were there, family. I just loved going. I didn't believe a word that the minister was saying. It just didn't. What are you talking about? On the one hand, you say that God is loving, but if you do something wrong now, hell and fire and brimstone is coming down on you, and He's going to burn you up in hell. What? I'm sorry. I am a human being, and I can't even spank my kids. I can't put my hands on my kids. I did it, but it was difficult. We were all crying. Okay, and now I'm supposed to believe that there's some loving entity that if I don't do what it wants me to do, it's going to fry me up in hell. Any sense? As a young person, I'm 9 years old, and that didn't make any sense to me. But okay, if that's what you're telling me, that's what you're telling me. So, it didn't resonate. That's what I'm saying. It just didn't resonate. It wasn't my truth. That's all. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying it's not true for me. That's what resonation means. It's not true for me. So as I'm looking at who I'm going to be, how I'm going to live in this life, and what makes sense to me, and looking at the be love, see love, when I stepped into a New Thought church for the first time in 1995, a CSL church, Science of Mind, I realized, and what I know now about this spiritual teaching is it is alive. It is alive. We are living it. One of the things my mother said, I so wish you could have met her because she was just a little firecracker. And she had such a strong belief in God. She wasn't so highly religious, but she really believed. And what she would say was, if somebody would piss her off, because she was like 4'11", so she had to climb on top of a desk if she wanted to hit you in the head, which she did a lot, she would say, "Oh, you have pissed me off. I'm going to have to put my religion on the shelf and go get them." Okay? So she was something she would put on and off, only on Sundays. And I remember going to church on Sundays and everybody talking about how horrible the week was and just so glad to be here and, oh, Lord, fix the week, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm thinking, so we just talk to God. So just on Sunday, He's only around on Sundays? Like what's happening with Monday through the rest of the week? This is a live spirituality. And we are the spirituality. If we believe, and we do, that we are individualized expressions of the one, then we share this good news with everyone, everywhere we go, just by being the spirituality. Do you understand that? So when you know, this is what the know part, when you know what we know, that whoever we're looking at, wherever we are in the world, it doesn't matter where you are, that when you're looking at another individual, you are looking at an individualized expression of God. How can you be rude to God? How can you not love God? And even if they're not showing up with what you think, what your experience says it should look like, doesn't matter what you think it looks like. What it is an individualized expression of God. And when we look at that and when we know that, we have compassion for everyone we see. We don't know what they've been through. We don't know. I happen to have had a very loving mother and father, very loving parents. I feel like who I am in the world, and I think many people, who you are in the world is based on how you were brought up, how much you were loved or not loved, whether you think that you are worthy of something or not. It has to do with your family of origin. And we get to take that and say, that's not true, and re-parent ourselves and know the truth that you are worthy because you are an individualized expression. You have the power to claim your life and co-create it. And so does everybody else. So when you are open-hearted, I'm going to use that word, when you are open-hearted, you accept everyone just as they are. So you know love, be love, be the message. We are the message. Do you get that? So we don't have to worry about people in the room. We spread this message ourselves by being this message everywhere we go. Do you understand the power of that? So if we know love, we be love, and we see love in everybody, what else is the outcome? What else is the outcome? You love people and you know who they are regardless of what they know. You know. And one of the things I was talking with a friend over dinner the other night, and they were talking about just walking the dog, and I'm just going to go ahead and bust it. That was Garrett. Garrett was talking about walking this sweet little dog, and how much smiling at the people he passes by, what that does. Just, he's walking the dog, and now, of course, she's gotten involved. She's just all happy to see everybody now, so they're looking at his smile and the happy dog, and it just makes people so happy. What's wrong with making somebody else happy? With looking at somebody and saying, when you smile at somebody, you know what you're saying? I see you, and you're okay with me. That's what it says. I see you, and you're okay with me. I don't know what you're going through, and I don't know what somebody else may have told you, but they're wrong if they said that you're not worthy. If they told you you couldn't do or be or whatever, they are wrong about that. And so that's what we're here to do, to be that message. And one of the things I'm going to go back to the counseling thing, one of the reasons why I want to do this, and why it's on my heart to do, is because there is so much race consciousness. People don't even know that the things that they're doing or what they're thinking is not necessarily their own thought. Their own thought. And you don't know it until you come up against something. And why is that true? I had a friend back in Waco who said to me, it was so funny, and she was talking about, I don't remember the particulars, so I'm just going to tell you the basic story. So the basic story is that she had been invited for tea or something. She's at someone's house and she's drinking tea, coffee, tea, whatever goes in those little cups and saucers. And the person, whatever you put in, and the person served, the story is about the person served her this just in the cup without a saucer. And she said it was so disrespectful. Yeah, I see the look on your face because I did the same thing. How did you get there? How did you get there from here? How does serving someone without a saucer equal disrespect? And she said, oh, because my mother said, all right, here we go, family of origin, that when you serve your guests, you're supposed to serve them coffee with a saucer, and it's very respectful that you do that. And I said, all right, okay, I can understand that, because that's what your mother had. But what if the person who was serving you didn't happen to have a saucer? But that's not what she had. Like maybe she had a mug. Maybe she was buried with mugs, so she didn't even know that the saucers go with the, how do you know? So it wasn't necessarily disrespect. It could have just been what she had. So we're making assumptions a lot from our own experience. And to me, if it comes up negative, like if you're saying something you're thinking, oh, and your face starts doing that, oh, that little lip curl thing, the whole Elvis lip curl, you're judging. But we are judging, and we're not, we're human beings, and we do judge. But catch yourself, because we know the truth. This is a living spirituality. We know the truth. The truth is, I don't know anything about you. I don't know. So my assumption might not be your experience. Might not be your experience. And let me tell you this. I shared this with, because I just came back, recently came back from vacation with my family, and so I have some 30-somethings that were there, my grandchildren, and so my granddaughter we were just talking, and she was talking to me about, about how peaceful, blah, blah. She just wanted to know how I live in the world, and I was telling her about, what we do. I was telling her about New Thought and how we see that everybody is, we love everyone, and everyone's an individualized expression, and she's like, The look was, how do you love everybody? Because she's thinking about somebody she don't like, right? As soon as you say, I got to love everybody, you think about somebody you don't like. So let me just say this. Loving someone, truly loving someone, knowing that they are God, means that you recognize their potential. The God potential is in them. If they're showing up in a way that you don't necessarily think is a part of your value, that doesn't mean they're not individualized expressions. It means that their experience hasn't taken them here where you are yet. That's all it means. That's all it means. If their experience never takes them someplace where you feel you need to be with people you're in a relationship with, to love somebody does not equal relationship. Do you get that? You don't have to be in a relationship with someone to love someone. Sit with that for a minute. Just sit with it. When my daughter and going through her teen years, and we were, things were starting to get ugly, how can with two women, and one knows everything and one thinks they know everything. It's a lot of head banging. But I said to her, we were doing something particularly ugly one day, and I said, let's stop, because we're getting into some territory and saying some things that are going to be hard to let go, hard to forgive and forget. I want you to know that I am going to always love you. There is nothing that you can do that will stop me from loving you. But we don't have to necessarily have a relationship. And I want one with you. So let's stop talking, take a time out, and come back to it so that we can continue to grow this relationship. And we have one now. But do you understand? Because you can love, I still love Jason. We don't, and actually we do have, we're still friends. We don't have that relationship. We have another one, a different kind. But again, my point. So don't confuse loving someone and seeing their bigger self with what's exhibiting right now, and you don't want to be in a relationship with them. Doesn't mean you can't love them, okay? So that's all. That's all I want to share with you, is that I think it's a big deal, that we don't have to wait until Sunday morning looking for butts in chairs to feel like we're having impact. We're having impact if we are living this spirituality everywhere we go and showing up as people who believe and know that everyone we're looking at has possibility, potential, because they are individualized expressions of the one. What mine to do is next, as I close, what's mine to do next, Pjae, is to help others. I feel like through the COVID thing, we've kind of been on hold, and we're coming out and we're going into the next area. And we're looking at the board, we're going to start looking at what's next for all of us. What's next? What's next for me is to talk to you guys more individually about where you want to go. One of the things that I think that people will say, oh, life is good, I'm good, is because there is a fear of the unknown. How do I get there? So you just are living with what you know is good. And I'm not saying it's not good, but I'm saying there is always more. And I am available to walk you through, to talk with you, to hold your hand, to ask you questions, to lift you up, to show you what I see. My girlfriends, you guys know that Melinda and Kim and I are a group that we get together, and they feed back to me what they see. Because just this morning in our class, the group was saying how wonderful the talk was last week on the recorded talk that I did. And I have been saying all week to myself, my God, that sucked. It sucked. You didn't get your point across. I didn't even go back and look at it. I just had this in my head. And they reflected back to me what the talk meant to them. It is important. It is important that someone else, that you get out of your head, so that someone else reflects back the greatness that they see in you, One of the things I want you to know about life is that we're like an egg. We're like an egg. The good stuff is on the inside. And all that hard shell on the outside is all this race consciousness that surrounds us, that tells us you're not good enough. You can't do this. That is a ridiculous idea. What makes you think? And all of the dream snatching conversation that's going on out there. Our job as New Thought, as a living spirituality, is to crack that shell open and to let what is good. You already know the truth, but the hard shell is keeping it from you. And I'm going to be here, and I'm inviting all of you to be here for each other, to crack that egg open, to look at each other and to know the truth and to reflect the truth and to help you bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to go. And so it is. Namaste.